Hello friends, welcome back to Aaron's Anxiety. I am your host Aaron, your personal guide through anxiety. The sun is directly in my face and it feels like it's burning out my corneas, so I'm trying to hide in the shade. Okay, so today, the video today. I want to talk about panic attacks. Kind of a big deal, especially if you're going through them. If you are going through having panic attacks right now, just know there's a lot of other people that have done it or are doing it. I being one of those. They are horrible. I hate them, and we're going to talk about it today. So, panic attacks. You know, I am a glass half full type person, okay? Let me just start off by saying this. I try to look at the bright side of everything, and I try to bring a positive air or a lightness to a lot of heavy subjects, especially when dealing with anxiety, depression, depersonalization, things like that. A lot of times we're off in this scary, scary place, or what feels like a scary place, which is weird because the world around you seems indifferent to this scary place. So it's good to have a controlled, uplifting attitude about it. And not only, me pushing that on you guys with trying to lighten the mood, but also the way you guys are viewing the situations that you're in, if you're in these situations. If you're just here because you're curious about panic attacks, welcome. Join the ride. There's a lot of great people here. So, as far as panic attacks goes, there are panic attacks and there's anxiety attacks. They're not quite the same. Panic attacks is a lot of beating heart, heavy breathing, not knowing what's going on, things like that. And then anxiety attacks, which they share some similarities, like the going into fight or flight. That's a big one that used to happen to me a lot. Like I would be fine, and all of a sudden, like, push, something's wrong. I need to go, and I would run, go, find safety, something like that. So like your brain doesn't know what to do, so you just respond. You know what I mean? And so when there is a tiger in the bush next to you, that is a wonderful tool to have. However, if there is no tiger in the bush and you're just walking through the mall with your family, not a good tool at that time. It's some tool. Okay, glass makers don't use a lot of hammers. You can imagine why. It's a wrong tool for the job. So that being said, that's kind of what's happening. Your body's using that wrong tool at the wrong time, in the wrong place, wrong situation. So to give you guys an example of panic attacks, or it was an anxiety attack in my recollection of it, here's what happened. And this is the best way to describe it, is just tell you what happened with me. So, and I think I've touched bases on this before, but I never went into any crazy detail or anything. So this will kind of give you an idea of what and how it spawned, things like that. So one thing that I do stress on this channel is to stay offline. So don't Google all of your symptoms, especially if you have health anxiety, because you're just going to give yourself more anxiety by finding out things that you really don't need to know, because it's unlikely. Everything causes a brain tumor, everything causes a heart attack, or whatever. Like, if you Google it, is what I'm saying, is if you Google everything, what I mean? Oh, I got this little pain in my temple. Whack, tumor, you're gone. You better be writing out your will now, you're gone. And then come to find out, well, there's a little bit of pressure moving around in your head. And then you worried for absolutely nothing. And if you have health anxiety, you know what I'm talking about? I've worried about that stuff a bajillion, gazillion, not even a real number, word times, okay? So many times have I thought that I had something, and come to find out I didn't have that. I had something else, because I'm a human being, and this is, its own ecosystem, basically, and so everything's revolving around itself. So, let's get to the time. I had At the time, this has been about 2 years ago. Just a little over 2 years ago. Almost. I think it was like, I would say September, which is not important, but in my head it's important. It was like September 23rd-ish, maybe somewhere in there. Because I remember, because it was by my sister's birthday party. Anyways, not important. What's important is my anxiety was up. I was freaking out. It was it was a really low part in my life. And so, like, the world seemed closed in around me. Everything seemed scary. I just wanted to go home and get in my bed and just do nothing but sit there and sleep and exist and just try to be safe and try to coax my mind out of being scared. And I was afraid I was going to go back into fight or flight. I was afraid I was going to have another panic attack. And the fear of that is it's kind of a vicious cycle, because when you try not to think about it, it's damn near impossible. People say that with people anxiety. Well, just don't think about it. Oh, thanks, genius. Yeah, thanks. I didn't think about that. Yeah. It's like, hey, don't think about a fuzzy pink elephant. Oh, the first thing you do is think about a fuzzy pink elephant. Alright, so I was already freaking out. I was having depersonalization at the time. Nothing felt real. Everything felt off. Everything felt a little weird. It looked like the world around me was a simulation. It looked like, I kept telling my wife, I think I'm in a coma. I need to wake up from this coma. Like, it's a really weird, scary thing to say to your wife. It's scary for her too, I'm assuming. However, I Googled what was going on, and this is right when I figured out that, oh hey, this thing is called depersonalization, because other people have had it from smoking too much marijuana, and then it freaked them out, and then their body goes into depersonalization as a coping mechanism when fight or flight doesn't work. So I look at the message boards and I'm scrolling, trying to find something in my head of how to fix it, and this thing pops up and it says, hey, you should just get used to having this, because this is your life now. You're going to have this forever until you die. And I remember thinking, and I remember as soon as I read that, I hit the home button, I set my phone down. I was laying on my bed. I set the phone down and I put my head into the blankets and I went, oh shit, I'm screwed. I fucked myself up, and I wish I never did, and I think I'm screwed for the rest of my life now, and everything is horrible, and I have no idea what I'm going to do from here. I remember thinking these thoughts. I wish there was something I could do, but obviously I'm going to have it for the rest of my life. So I decide that I'm getting too worked up about this. My heart's beating fast. I'm kind of like dwelling thoughts. And so I go, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for a walk to clear my head. So I go into the living room. My wife's laying on the couch, taking a little siesta, playing on her phone. And I say, hey, I'm going to go for a walk. Do you want to go? And she says, no, I'm just going to sit here, maybe take a nap. And I said, all right, cool. Do you, boo-boo. And so I didn't say it like that because I was freaking out. That's normal air. Freaking out, I was like, all right, I'm going to go for a walk. So I go for the walk. I walk around the block. And it's whatever. It's like, I get like maybe, I don't know, a mile. Not even that. Like half a mile into my walk. I'm away from my house. And there's this park that's by my house. I sit down on the bench. And I'm dwelling on these thoughts, dwelling on these thoughts, dwelling on these thoughts. And all of a sudden, nothing seems real anymore. And not depersonalization wise. Everything seems weird. My body goes into full-on anxiety attack. Let's go. I think that time, it really screwed with me when I was having anxiety attacks. It's like I don't know what time it is. I can't get a grip on time. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know what's going on. All I need to do is get home. Home is safe. And so your body's like freaking out. And so I must have looked like a crazy person, because I, like, later on with a normal, like normal thought process, process. I was thinking, okay, I'm a child. I'm on a playground. A guy comes walking up, sits on a bench, stands up, looks around really weird, and then I just booked it. And then I just like started running. So what happened was I stood up and I didn't know what time it was. I didn't know where I was at. I was really disoriented, and I knew that I had to get home. So in my logical brain, I said, I need to call my wife to come get me. So I pick up my phone and then I call her, and it goes to her voicemail. Oh my God. So I call again. Voicemail again. Oh, and then the anxiety really started to pour on, because now I'm at this place that's very confusing for me. And how am I gonna get home? So I didn't know what else to do, and I'm freaking out, and like, I was scared. So I literally just started running as fast as I could to get home, which, you know, is about half a mile away. And so I was running and running and running and running. And let me tell you something about me running and running and running and running. Aaron doesn't run. So that being said, Aaron's out of shape. So when I was running, I probably ran for like an eighth of a mile. That wasn't. It was definitely probably more like a 16th of a mile. Okay, I don't run very far before I get winded. Okay, don't judge me, because that's probably the same way. So I'm better now, but it's fine. I can run like an eighth of a mile now. Anyways, so I get to where I can't, like, because your heart's already beating fast, and you're running and blah blah blah. And so I just started saying over and over in my head, "You're okay. You're okay. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything is okay. Everything is okay. Things are okay. Everything's fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine." And I was trying to breathe, and I kept saying that over and over to myself. "You're okay. You're okay. You're okay. Everything's fine." And I was walking, panting, and then I like walked the rest of the way home, and I get into the doorway, and my wife is on the couch, and she is sleeping. If you couldn't have guessed, she napped, fell asleep, and that's where she was. She was in dreamland while I am like trudging through the trenches of anxiety. So, you know, for better or worse, I don't know. You call it however you want. I'm just saying, she should have been there. She should have been on there. She shouldn't let me go off on that walk when she could tell I was messed up. It was one of those, "Are you okay?" No, if you're asking that I'm not okay, come with me. I don't know if she watches my videos. She says she does. I don't think she ever makes it this far. So I bet you she doesn't watch this part. So we're good. But anyway, so that was one of my anxiety stories. That was one of the situations that I had to flee in my head. See, when I go into fight or flight, now I'm a big guy, okay? I am 6'2", and now I'm like 250 pounds. Like, I'm a big dude. I don't have like a gut or anything. I kind of disperse my weight evenly throughout my body, so I don't really look. I don't know what 250 looks like, but people always tell me, "Oh, you don't like that thing." Maybe they're just being nice. I don't know. But that being said, people always assume that big guy, big beard. Oh man, when you go into fight or flight, man, you must fuck shit up. I've gotten that. And I went, nope. Not me. No, I run. I get the hell out of there. What are you talking about? I'm gone. Like, it takes, side note, it takes so much to get me mad. It's insane. I don't get mad. I've had moments in life where I've been mad, but normal life doesn't really make me mad. My wife doesn't make me mad. I can get frustrated, but mad, don't ever get mad. I got like the patience of like a 90-year-old Buddhist. Like, I don't, like whatever. It's all, I always think, whatever. Alright, whatever. You do what you gotta do. So, that being said, I don't fight. I flee. I fleed every time. Maybe I'll fight sometime. I don't know. But so far, every time I've had a panic attack, I get the fuck out of there. I'm gone. Just gone. Barrel. Roadrunner. Gone. So, looking back at the situation, because it's important not to just take in what happens. It's important to take it in and then have a rational thought afterwards. So when your anxiety is up, or if you have a panic attack or an anxiety attack and you're having irrational thoughts, once you get back into some clarity in your brain, it's important that you go back over those irrational thoughts and reprogram those thoughts that you had into rational thoughts, if that makes sense. So, the irrational thought is, time doesn't make sense. Oh, time didn't make sense at the time because you were very elevated. Your brain was focusing on way too many things and trying to flee. It wasn't worried about time. It wasn't worried about anything. It was worried about getting the hell out of wherever you were at. That's why that was doing that. It's good to have these rational thoughts because it's called framing. It's framing your mind so that your brain can handle what happened and it can move past it. So another thing that I say to do for people is people will establish phobias a lot of times based off of things like panic attacks. If you found yourself doing that, you need to stop that right now. So like one of the things I did when I started feeling a little better, it was a couple weeks afterwards, I was kind of afraid to go back to that park. But knowing that, I went back to the park specifically, sat on that bench specifically, and I told myself, this bench has nothing to do with my anxiety. This park has nothing to do with my anxiety. This is a nice park. And so I retraced my steps exactly, and I reframed them as I was doing it. Oh, wow, I was having a panic attack. Here's why I did that. And I could calmly go through and explain to my subconscious mind what was happening. So that's important. While you're doing that, look around you. Take in the sights, the sounds, the smells, things like that. That's going to help reframe that in your brain. It was a situation. It was a bad situation, but it was just a momentary situation. It's not everything. It's not means it's going to happen again. That doesn't mean anything. It's just something that happened. We dealt with it. We can move on. Make sense? All right, friends. All right, well, if you have any questions about the story or reframing or any of that stuff like that, I would love to answer them. Put them in the comments below. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share this video if you know it could at least make someone laugh or be helpful to them. I would appreciate that. And until next time, friends, I'm Aaron. You're awesome, and I'll see you in the next video.